Are you struggling to move on from past pain? Let's explore the answers together in today's video.
Welcome to Chief Talk, where we turn everyday struggles into meaningful chats. And today we're diving deep into something we all grapple with: lingering emotional pain.
Exactly. You know, that feeling of being stuck in a rut, rehashing old hurts, unable to move on. We've all been there, right?
Absolutely. We're taking inspiration from Stephen Hayes and Spencer Smith's book, Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life, a guide to understanding why we suffer and, more importantly, how to stop.
It's so true. It's not always the immediate event, right? It's the stuff that festers, sometimes for years, that fight with your parents, the ex you can't forget, that nagging anxiety.
Yeah, those why questions. Why can't I get over this? Why does it still hurt? Hayes and Smith make this crucial distinction between pain and suffering. Pain, they say, is inevitable. It's a natural response to hurt.
Right, like a signal something's wrong.
Exactly. But suffering, that's optional. Suffering is what happens when we cling to that pain, letting it consume us.
It's like the breakup example they use, the initial heartbreak, the physical ache, that's pain. But then the constant replaying of memories, the loss of appetite, the anger, that's the suffering.
It's so true. And it's in our power to choose not to suffer. It's not about denying the pain, but about not letting it define us. If you're finding this helpful so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more insightful discussions.
Definitely. Because everyone experiences pain. It's part of life. But not everyone suffers. So what makes the difference? What fuels that suffering? Let's unpack that next.
So we've established that pain is inevitable, right? It's part of the human experience. Stubbing your toe, heartbreak, disappointment. It's all pain.
Yeah, like that initial sting. It's unavoidable.
But the suffering? The stuff that keeps us up at night, the replaying of hurtful memories? Hayes and Smith argue that's optional. It's how we react to the pain, not the pain itself, that really gets us.
Right? It's like the breakup is painful, but it's the obsessing, the what ifs, the anger that really drags you down. That's the suffering.
Precisely. And they're not saying to ignore the pain, to pretend it's not there, but to not let it consume you, to prevent it from turning into full-blown suffering. If you find this helpful, by the way, a quick reminder to hit that like button and subscribe.
Absolutely. And this book, Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life, is all about figuring out how to do that, how to manage that suffering. So what drives it? What fuels that fire?
Well, they point to a few key things. One being our tendency to suppress negative thoughts and emotions. You know, like telling yourself, don't think about it, don't feel sad. Ironic, right?
Oh, yeah? How so?
Because it's like trying not to think about a pink elephant. The more you try not to think about it, the more it's right there in your face. It's that paradoxical effect they talk about. You end up giving those thoughts and feelings more power.
So pushing it down just makes it pop back up stronger? Got it.
Exactly. And they also talk about how we confuse our thoughts with reality. Like, if you think someone doesn't like you, you assume it's a fact, even if there's no real evidence. You start avoiding them, reinforcing that belief, creating more suffering.
It's like making up a story in your head and then living it out as if it's true. Ouch. That hits home.
Yeah. And then there's the concept of self, those labels we give ourselves. I'm a failure. I'm unlovable. It's like creating this rigid box and then trying to cram your whole complex self into it. Anything that doesn't fit causes more suffering.
Right, because you're constantly fighting against your own nature. So it's the suppressing, the confusing, and the labeling that adds fuel to the fire. What about finding meaning in pain, though? They touch on that, yeah?
So we were talking about how suppressing thoughts and emotions can actually make suffering worse, right? Like telling yourself, don't be sad, just makes you sadder. But Hayes and Smith offer a different approach.
Oh? What's that?
It's about labeling your thoughts and emotions, not just stating them, but acknowledging the process of experiencing them.
Labeling? So, like, instead of saying, I'm angry, you'd say?
I'm noticing that I'm feeling angry, or I'm having the thought that I'm angry. It creates a little distance, you see? Helps you observe those fleeting thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
I see. Interesting. So it's about being mindful of the experience itself?
Exactly. It's like becoming an observer of your own internal world. They even give specific labels to use in the book, like I'm noticing I'm having the thought that.
Oh, yeah? What other examples do they give?
Well, they suggest I'm noticing I'm feeling. For emotions, I'm noticing I'm remembering. For memories, stuff like that. Even for physical sensations, like I'm noticing a tightness in my chest. It's all about that observation, that awareness.
Got it, got it. So by labeling, you kind of separate yourself from the feeling or thought. It's not you, it's just something you're experiencing.
Precisely. And they also have a label for impulses, like I'm noticing I have the urge to, which, by the way, if you're finding this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.
Right, right. Because sometimes, the urge is there, but you don't have to act on it. Recognizing the urge itself is a big step. So labeling helps you sort of step back and observe without judgment. It's like creating space between you and your inner world. Yeah?
So we're talking about labeling our thoughts and feelings, right? But what about those times when our thoughts feel so real, so powerful, they practically dictate our reality? Like, I'm going to fail this test, or everyone hates me. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Oh, totally. It's like you're trapped in your own head and those thoughts just spiral out of control. How do you break free from that cycle? Hayes and Smith have some advice on that, right?
They do. They talk about this idea of diffusion, which is separating yourself from your thoughts, recognizing that they're just thoughts, not facts. One technique they suggest is keeping a disentanglement journal.
A disentanglement journal? Okay, I'm intrigued. What's that about?
So it's like this. You write down your negative thought, right? Let's say I have a bad feeling I'm going to mess up this presentation. Then after the presentation, you write down what actually happened.
Okay, so you compare the thought to the reality. I like that. So what if the presentation does look badly?
Even better, because then you go one step further and ask yourself, what specifically caused the presentation to go poorly? Was it because of your initial thought, or were there other factors at play? Maybe you weren't prepared enough, or the audience was just tough.
Right, right. So you pinpoint the actual cause, not just your pre-presentation jitters. It's like separating correlation from causation. I dig it. So what if, let's say, the microphone cuts out mid-presentation?
Perfect example. You'd write down, my thought was, I'm going to mess this up. Reality, the microphone died, but I recovered and finished strong. Because faulty equipment, not my negative thinking.
Ah, I see. By writing it down, you see clearly that your thoughts didn't cause the problem. It's like taking back control of your narrative. It removes that I knew it feeling. This is really helpful stuff, guys. If you're feeling this, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights.
Absolutely. And by repeatedly doing this, you start to realize, hey, my thoughts aren't always true. They're just thoughts, mental events, not prophecies. They don't control reality.
Yeah, it creates that crucial distinction between what's happening in your head and what's happening in the real world. It's so easy to get those two mixed up. This journal idea is a game changer. Thanks for sharing that.
So we've been talking about how to untangle ourselves from our thoughts, right? But what about those sticky labels we give ourselves? I'm a failure, I'm awkward, I'm unlovable, those kinds of things. It's like we define our entire being with these limiting beliefs.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's like creating a box for yourself, and anything that doesn't fit inside causes so much inner turmoil. How do Hayes and Smith address that in the book?
Well, they have this really interesting exercise using sticky notes. You write down all those self-labels like I'm shy or I'm a bad student, and you literally stick them on yourself.
Stick notes? Okay, that's visual. I like it. So what's the next step?
Then you start questioning those labels. Like, am I always shy? Are there times when I'm not? You look for examples in your life that contradict those labels. It's about realizing that those labels aren't the whole story.
So it's like challenging your own assumptions. Is it really true that I'm a failure? I get it. And then what?
The final step is the most powerful, I think. You rip off those sticky notes. You physically remove those labels and ask yourself, who am I without this label?
Whoa. That's symbolic, right? Like shedding an old skin. So you're left with, look, what are you supposed to do then?
You start to rebuild your sense of self based on all the other things that make you you. I'm a good friend. I love to paint. I make a mean lasagna. Whatever it is that truly defines you beyond those limiting labels. And if you're finding this insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Right, because you're more than just one thing, one label. You're a complex, multifaceted human being. This is really resonating with me. So it's about challenging, removing, and rebuilding. It's like reclaiming your narrative.
So we've been exploring ways to manage suffering, drawing inspiration from Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. And one really powerful idea they discuss is finding meaning in pain.
Oh, yeah? Like silver linings and all that? How do they approach it exactly?
Well, it's not just about putting a positive spin on things, It's about acknowledging the negative, accepting that the bad thing did happen, and then looking for what you can learn from it.
So it's not about denying the pain, but
But about using it as a stepping stone, I guess. Like, okay, this happened, it hurts. Now, what can I take away from this experience? What did I learn about myself, about others, about life in general?
So even in the darkest moments, there's potential for growth? I kind of like that idea.
right? It's like turning that negative energy into something positive. They also emphasize that it's not about suppressing the hurt, the pain.
Oh, so you can feel the pain and still find meaning?
Exactly. It's both and, not either or. It's about acknowledging the pain, letting yourself feel it, and simultaneously looking for the lesson, the takeaway. If this is making sense to you guys, hit that like button and subscribe for more insightful discussions.
Absolutely. Because pain is inevitable, right? Suffering is optional, but pain is part of the deal. So this is about making that pain meaningful, empowering even. It's like taking control of your narrative.
Yeah, totally. And they even address the self-comfort aspect of it. They acknowledge that, yeah, there might be an element of self-soothing involved.
Hmm. Self-soothing? So like telling yourself a story to feel better?
Kind of, but it's more than that because even knowing it's partly self-soothing doesn't negate the positive impact it can have. The reduction in suffering is still real.
That's an interesting point. It's like, even if it's a placebo effect, it still works. So it's about accepting the pain, learning from it, and finding a way to move forward. What a concept.
It is. And I think the ultimate message is to embrace your suffering, to accept it as part of your story, part of what makes you you. And, on that note, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Cheap Talk.
We hope you found this conversation helpful, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into everyday struggles. Until next time, take care.